Moving on to some more cons related to teletherapy, it's important to note that there is limited evidence proving its effectiveness. In 2022, Ferguson and colleagues mentioned that child outcomes are varied. Only 54% of studies reported favorable outcomes for all participants. 45% of single subject research focusing on communication interventions demonstrated non-effects for child outcomes. Whether this limitation in outcomes is a result of heterogeneity common to a naturalistic teaching model or due to specific difficulties in translating effective naturalistic teaching practices to a telehealth platform are important questions to ask. The article mentions that research on its efficacy is somewhat limited as well. While the majority of us work within the United States, I thought it was important to note that as of late March of 2022, there have been no studies published by researchers outside of the United States investigating solely a telehealth platform to provide training to parents in naturalistic interventions, also mentioned by Ferguson and colleagues in 2022. While I was researching, many journal articles reported that telehealth was beneficial to individuals diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. I found that the description of many of these participants described a higher skill repertoire. So what about those clients with a lower skill repertoire who need additional prompting throughout most tasks? For these clients, a caregiver would be needed on the other end to help assist them through a session as well. So while teletherapy can be argued to be more flexible for scheduling purposes, it must be noted that for some clients, a caregiver's schedule needs to be worked around as well. This decreases flexibility within the idea of teletherapy, as some caregivers would no longer be just dropping their child off and become available during that session time to complete other errands. Instead, they might need to be present with them throughout session. Maladaptive behaviors are often present for individuals with special needs as well. Such problem behaviors could be difficult to intervene on, though necessary, as they could cause harm to oneself or others. For example, if a client were to engage in a severe magnitude of self-injurious behavior in which a reactive treatment strategy is necessary for safety, it might be difficult to do this via teletherapy, even if there is a caregiver on the other end assisting the client. Aggression can also range in magnitude, in which many times more than one practitioner is needed if that magnitude is high enough to efficiently protect themselves and others. Demands placed can often evoke maladaptive behaviors as clients continue to learn, as it's natural to become frustrated at some points. It is also important to note that while a caregiver may be assisting their child on the other end of the screen, they most likely did not undergo the 40-hour behavior technician training. While it's the job of the BCBA to help train and guide caregivers in managing problem behaviors and enhancing the client's skill repertoire, difficult situations often yield an in-the-moment response that may not align with the protocols that were gone over. Teletherapy also leads to a deficiency in the sense of community. For families who have a member or members diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, it's crucial to build relationships with others who can relate and help support them. Going to an in-person setting helps caregivers to build those bonds with other families. It also enhances social opportunities for the clients as they learn with and from their peers. Moving on to the last point, teletherapy may not even be an option for some families if their insurance doesn't cover it. As stated by Therapy Brands in 2022, teletherapy is covered by Medicaid in 48 states. While this does account for the majority of states, it's important to know that Medicaid was specifically mentioned, in which not all families might have that insurance. Only 32 out of 50 states have some kind of private payer policy in order, also mentioned by Therapy Brands. The source also states that covered services are defined by state law, and even when a private plan covers telehealth, coverage may be limited. There are also variations in reimbursement. Only 23 states with stricter telehealth parity laws have to cover telehealth services at rates equivalent to in-person visits. So that is less than half of the states. So it might be more of an out-of-pocket expense for families. So before one should consider teletherapy, it's important to look into how their insurer handles covering it.